When you go into Google Ads and you start writing out your text ads for your campaigns, you're going to notice Google is rating the quality of your ad in real time and providing real-time feedback with a score. This score ranges across 4 criteria, which are poor, average, good, and excellent, and this is known as your ad strength score. So when you're writing your ad and you get this score and you're seeing, hold on, why does Google think my ad is average, or why does Google think my ad is poor? Should I even care what Google thinks about the quality of my ad? Well, you're lucky, because today we're going to break down ad strength, and we're also going to look at what it is, how it actually works, and what Google is looking for within this score. And of course, the main thing is, should you even care about it? And we're actually going to look at some data for this part of whether or not you should care about it, because it's easy to just say Google is bad and we should just ignore them, but data doesn't lie. So we're going to look at a case study from PPC software company Optimizer to get the final word on whether or not you should even care about your ad strength score. So as I say, it's a real-time score given to your ads based on what you are putting into your ads headlines and descriptions. Google rates it from poor, average, good, and excellent, and you might be writing an ad out and think, what's going on? Why does Google think my ad is just average? I'm saying some amazing things about my products and services, but yet they're giving me an average score. Or even worse, you might be writing an ad and you think it's good and Google is giving you a really, really poor score. You're getting a poor rating on your ad. So what's going on there? What criteria actually impacts this score? Well, ad strength is powered by 4 main criteria, each of which has an impact on your overall score. The more criteria you hit, the higher your ad strength score is going to be. These 4 criteria are adding more headlines and descriptions to your ads, adding more differences and uniqueness between your headlines and descriptions, trying not to pin your headlines and descriptions in place within your ads. Google doesn't like it when you pin content. And finally, the last criteria is keyword relevancy. How many keywords you're bidding on for your ad group are actually included in the content of your ads. The more keywords you mention and cover, the better your ad strength can be as well. So let's look at this criteria in a bit more detail. Adding more headlines and descriptions. Now, when you're writing out an ad on Google Ads, you have an option for up to 15 headlines and 4 descriptions, which is a lot of real estate and a lot of opportunities to get messaging right and differentiated within your ads. Now, what I've seen is a lot of the time you're going to get into one of 2 categories of performance. You're going to see performance improve with more headlines and descriptions, or you can actually see it go down as a result, because what can sometimes happen is you can get fatigued when writing your headlines and descriptions. So you might be forcing yourself to write 15 when actually your first 5 were very good, your next 5 were average, and your last 5 were basically just trying to tick the box of getting an ad live. So my first piece of advice is take your time when writing your assets out if you want to maximize all of the positions, all 15 headlines and all 4 descriptions. Make sure your content is solid. Whether or not you should even add that many headlines and descriptions, or even pin or unpin, we'll get onto in a second. Another criteria I mentioned is, of course, the uniqueness of each headline and description. If you're writing your headlines basically the same, like fast UK delivery, free UK delivery, delivery nationwide, they're different types of headline, but they're not different enough. So Google might mark down your ad strength score because you're not including different types of headline. You're covering the same point over and over again. Google likes to see different types of message within your headlines and descriptions, and they will mark down your ad strength score if you do not hit that criteria. So when it comes to getting uniqueness into your ad, you've got to take a bit of time to understand all of your unique selling points, write them out, and make sure you're using unique headlines and descriptions to make your ads more differentiated. That is if you want to increase your ad strength score. But should you? Before I tell you whether or not it actually matters, the last criteria I want to cover is, of course, your keyword relevance. How many keywords you're bidding on are actually appearing in your ad. Now, for me, this is just best practice. It's one of the criteria of ad strength score that actually I think is really good, because you want to maximize the relevance. Better keyword relevance is going to increase your quality score. And of course, if your ad contains the keyword the person is typing in, you're going to increase the relevance on the search results page anyway to help you get a better click-through rate. So I think having that criteria, that 4th one I mentioned, is actually quite powerful. But now let's get to the interesting part. Does this score actually matter? Well, first of all, let's look at this quote from Google regarding ad strength score. They say that advertisers who move their score from poor to excellent can see up to 12% more conversions in their campaigns. Now, whenever you see scores that are very specific from poor to excellent, That's a very cherry-picked criteria. What about from average to excellent or good to excellent? If your score is that solid, if your scoring system is that powerful, then you should be able to see gains in performance when you move the score regardless. Maybe it's 12% from poor to excellent, you get 12% more conversions. What about from average to excellent? Maybe that's 5%, I don't know, but Google doesn't share that figure, which I find really interesting. But what's even more interesting is real data, and PPC software company Optimizer has analyzed over 1 million ads across all of their portfolio of campaigns being managed by their software, and they've broken down a study which you're going to see on screen right now. You will see in this table there is the first column which shows the ad strength, and the next column is the number of accounts within that ad strength criteria. But as you jump across all the way to the right hand side, you're going to see conversion rate and ROAS, the two most important columns when it comes to your Google Ads performance. So if you look at the return on ad spend from the poor criteria, the bottom row of this table, you're going to see the average percentage of return on ad spend across all of those 1 million ads being run that are tracking revenue was 195% of return on investment. When you compare that to the excellent score, the top row of this table, you're going to see the average ROAS was 176%. It seems that in this data set, the poor ad strength scores have a better ROAS than that of the excellent scores. Now, of course, when you look at the average score, that's got the highest one in the whole of the table. So what I'm seeing here in terms of those accounts that are measuring the actual conversion values and bidding on conversion values potentially, they are seeing that ad strength means nothing. They are seeing it means nothing. Poor ads are getting a better return on ad spend than the excellent ads. If Google was so strong in their claim that ad strength makes a big difference, you would see the data go the other way around, because a poor ad should not be able to outperform an excellent ad. Now let's move away from ROAS over to conversion rate, because if you're a lead gen account, you're not necessarily going to be measuring and optimizing towards value. You're going to be optimizing towards the cost per conversion. So looking at this data, you will see the bottom row of the poor ad strength column, or row should I say, has an average conversion rate of 6.98%. When you compare that to the excellent row at the very top, the average conversion rate is 6.95%. Basically the same. It has no material impact across these two criteria. When you look at the middle, however, there is an increase when you look at average and when you look at good. They are higher conversion rates. But in reality, the actual percentage swing within a margin of error isn't that high. So what you're seeing here is ad strength doesn't necessarily matter that much when it comes to the performance in terms of conversion rate and return on ad spend. However, where the excellent score wins out on this table is in click-through rate. Now, ads with an excellent score have a higher click-through rate on average, with an average of 8.28, and oppose that to the poor bottom row of this table, you're going to see an average click-through rate of 7.88, which of course isn't the lowest in this table for sure. It's actually the second. So when you the third, sorry. So when you look at this table and you understand that actually you're seeing again that you have a higher ad strength, it does give you a better click-through rate, but you're not optimizing your ads towards a click-through rate, at least not in the first instance. What you're mainly prioritizing in your ads and your Google Ads campaigns is, of course, your return on ad spend or your cost per conversion or volume of conversions. That is really important to remember, because this data is showing you that the ad strength score has no material impact across 1 million ads analyzed on this score. So where Google gets this 12% increase from poor to excellent from, I don't know. Again, to me, it sounds a little bit like cherry picking. But finally, the last criteria of ad strength score, which I didn't touch on too much, was of course pinning and unpinning ad content. Because of course on Google Ads, when you're writing your ad copy, you can pin content in place to force Google to show certain headlines or descriptions in certain positions within your ad. You can pin some stuff to the first part of the headline or pin a description, whatever it may be. Now, when you look at this data again from 1 million accounts from Optimizer's report, you're going to see in this table here that when you look at the first column with the number of pinned assets, which are some assets pinned, no assets pinned, or all assets pinned, and then you go all the way across to the final column of ROAS we're going to start with, you will see that when you look at the all assets pinned column, we have a return on ad spend on average across all of those accounts analyzed of 200%, no content pinned 177%, and some content pinned 224%. So when you look at this table, you'll see that the advertisers who pin some content get a better return on ad spend, when the advertisers who pin no content get the worst return on ad spend from these accounts analyzed. Now, again, Google advises against pinning content because, of course, when you pin content, your ad strength score goes down. But looking at this data, your ad strength score doesn't mean anything again, because if you pin some content or all of your content, you can potentially get a good return on ad spend compared to when you pin no content. So that was for accounts measuring conversion values and optimizing towards a ROAS. Those accounts which aren't measuring conversion values and optimizing towards a conversion rate or a CPA, it's a bit of a different story actually, which makes this a bit of a difficult thing to look at in a bit more detail, because when you look at this table, you will see that those advertisers who pin some content have a conversion rate of 6.8. Those who pin no content, 7.26. Those who pin all of their content, 6.18, which is showing us here, when you compare all to none, the most extreme kind of swing in this report of pinning everything versus pinning nothing, those advertisers who do not pin their content have a better conversion rate than those who pin everything, and higher than those who pin some of their content. So looking at this, it shows a bit of a differentiation between those measuring a ROAS and those obviously looking at a CPA target and the conversion rate. So that is a bit of a difficulty to look at here. As you can see in the CPA column, those advertisers who pin all of their content have the highest CPA in this study. So again, this shows you that actually pinning content is something to be very careful with. Yes, you should be testing this. If you're pinning everything, definitely run an experiment to pin nothing or pin some of the content. And if you're pinning nothing, then run an experiment pinning some of the content or all of the content, and test your ad copy the old school way, where you literally write a different ad with completely different content versus the kind of free to air unpinned ad against each other. That's going to give you the best examples of which ad format works best for you, because again, this data shows some conflicts. So in summary, what I will say is ad strength score doesn't necessarily have a big impact on ads. Yes, you should be doing things that are obvious that the score wants you to do, which of course means keeping your ads relevant to your keywords. Yes, you should definitely be doing that. You should be hitting that criteria at minimum. You should also be testing and dabbling on pinning versus unpinning in terms of which one works better for your campaigns. I've seen it work both ways. I've seen it work badly when you pin everything. I've seen it work amazingly when you've pinned everything. Again, it differs from different accounts, and the data kind of shows that here. Some advertisers do well from it, others do not. So you should be testing this as well. But the final point I want to say is that this goes to show you, you know your ads better than Google. You know your business and your unique selling points better than Google does. So when it comes to the balance between hitting the excellent ad strength versus pushing your unique selling points you know that customers like, you have to go with your gut and go with what you know about your business, and not necessarily about getting that excellent score that Google wants you to achieve. But let me know in the comments, do you try and target an excellent ad strength score? Personally, I don't. I try and target criteria based on the different unique selling points of a business, the keywords as well to make sure they're relevant, and pinning versus unpinning testing. That's generally the framework I use. But let me know in the comments what you do with your ads as well. I reply to all comments on all of my new videos. Like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.